This video is a continuation of the API series. You can go to my channel and check out the API project, so you can check out all those videos, how to create a MongoDB, Mongoose models, schemas, etc. So in this video we're gonna protect routes. So once we go into endpoints, we should only be able to get to those endpoints with a token like this. So we're gonna create a middleware. We're gonna be creating a middleware in order to protect our routes. So to do that, we're gonna be using the Express middleware. We also gonna be using the bearer token, as we saw in the previous video, with the authorization request. We're gonna use the request object, the headers, and then the authorization. So we're also gonna be using the MongoDB. So now I'm gonna go into my folder programming.js. I have Async Express, so I'm gonna open the API project. So right click and then I'm gonna type code space that, so I can open it in Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna close all the stuff. I'm gonna close my terminal. I'm gonna press Ctrl plus tilde or Ctrl tilde to open my incorporated terminal. Okay, so my scripts are test and example. So if I run it npm run example, so I'm gonna be using Node-man. If I do npm run test, I'll be using Node. I'm gonna do that, but first of all we're gonna be using, okay, I have it here, express hyphen async, okay, express async handler. So we're gonna be using async handler, and pretty much async handler is a simple middleware for handling exceptions inside of asynchronous express routes and passing them to your express error handler. So when we use Postman, I'm gonna open Postman too. When we use Postman, okay, when we use Postman, and let's say we have a try and catch. So if everything goes right, that's cool. But if there is an error, once we use the async handler, if we just use the asynchronous function, what's gonna happen is once the server finds an error, it's just gonna freeze. But if we had the async handler, it's gonna handle exceptions, so it's gonna throw in your message. So again, the async handler is a simple middleware for handling exceptions inside of async express routes and passing them to your express error handler. So if you don't have it, you just have to install it, like npm install, and you just have an express async hyphen handler, like that. So I already have it, but for demonstration purposes, okay, like that. And we have that. So I'm gonna run the server npm run examples, since that is the name of my script. Okay, so I'm gonna press enter. And okay, my port is 8000, so that's right. So now I'm gonna go into my backend folder. I'm gonna go into routes. Right now I have two routes. So I have the slash and I have the slash sign. So I'm gonna go into Postman. I have API slash user, so that's the same as API slash users slash, and the second one is gonna be, I'm gonna have users slash sign. So I'm gonna create a new file, a new route. It's gonna be router, like that, and it's gonna have the get method. It's not gonna be a post, because we are not posting, we're not creating something, we are getting information. So it has to be a get method, and it's gonna be sign. No, it's gonna be, let me see what we have here. Okay, that's fine. User data, so we're gonna name it user data. It's gonna be like that, user data. So we're gonna we're gonna create this function that is gonna be named user data, like that, and we are gonna bring it from our user controller. So it's gonna be like this, user data. We're gonna have an error because we haven't created that function yet, so we don't have it. So we're gonna create it in our user controller file that is in our controller folder. So we're gonna go into user controllers file, and we are gonna go just below the token generation, the JWT generation, and we're gonna get user data. Okay, user data. We're gonna create it. It's gonna be const. We're gonna user data like this, and it's gonna be asynchronous. We're gonna have an arrow function like this, and again, this is the part when we're gonna be using the async handler, so we can handle exceptions like that. And we're gonna put we're gonna wrap it inside of parentheses here. Inside of the asynchronous function, it's gonna take the request object, it's gonna take the response object, and it's gonna take, no, it's not gonna take next because it's not, this is not a middleware. So now as a JSON, we're just gonna pass in, let me see, user data, like that, user data. So we need to export it, so we're gonna go in the module that exports, and it's gonna be user data like this. We're gonna save it, and let me see. So we created this user data. Okay, this is an asynchronous function. We are exporting it, and we are grabbing it here, user data. So we should be able to go into this link. So if I click send, let me see, user data. So we are able to get into this endpoint, but we want to protect, because the only person that should be able to get into this /user data should be the user with its token. So now, in order to get into this route, we're gonna be using a token. So to do that, we need to create a middleware. Okay, so we're gonna go here, using middleware. Express is a routing and middleware framework, web framework, that has minimal functionality of its own. An Express application is essentially a series of middleware function calls. Middleware functions are functions that have access to the request object, that is the response object, and the next middleware function in the application request response cycle. The next middleware function is commonly denoted by a variable named text. Middleware functions can perform the following tasks: execute any code, make changes to the request and response objects, and the request response cycle, call the next middleware function, and the stack. If the current middleware function does not end the request response cycle, it must call next to pass control to the next middleware function. Otherwise, the request will be left hanging. And another thing, it's very useful to use the, let me see, the request, the async handler, so we can avoid the server to be left hanging. An Express application can use the following types of middleware: application level middleware, router level middleware, error handling middleware, built-in middleware, third-party middleware. You can load application level and router level middleware with an optional mount path. You can also load a series of middleware functions together, which creates a substack of middleware systems at a mount point. And pretty much this is the syntax. So you have request, response, and next. Okay, so what we are gonna do now is we are gonna go into the backend, and we're gonna create a folder named middleware, like that, middleware. And inside that, we're gonna create a file name. I'm gonna create security middleware, and it has to be .js, it has to be JSON. Okay, so we're gonna bring in async, okay, async handler, and we're gonna require it from the express async handler, because we're gonna be dealing with. Okay, so we're gonna bring in the user model too, the users model, and this is gonna come from require, and this is gonna come from, let me see, we are in the middleware, so we need to go to levels up, models, and it's gonna come from user models. We're also gonna bring in the JWT, because we're gonna need it to verify. We're gonna be using that verify method of the JSON Web Token. So when you require it, it has to be JSON Web Token, like that. So we have this, and what else do we need? So we have a sync handler. Okay, we're gonna create this function called secure. Okay, secure data. Secure data. Let me see, what is the name of this one? User data. So user data. Okay, secure data, we can name it. So we're gonna name it secure data, and we are gonna, again, it's gonna have an async handler. We're gonna wrap it around, and we're gonna have here the asynchronous function, like that. We're gonna have the arrow. Okay, so here we're gonna pass in the request object, the response object, and now we're gonna pass in next, since this is a middleware. Okay, so we have this up to this point, and let's export it first. So it's gonna be module that exports, and we are gonna export this function called secure data. So yeah, like that. Okay, so now what else do we have here? So secure data, asynchronous, next. So we are gonna initialize the variable token. We're gonna initialize token that we have it, and if we go to the user controller, we have here, let me see, user controller here, we got the token, we have the token JWT. Okay, you can call it token JWT. I'm gonna just call it token. So we're gonna initialize it like that, and we're gonna have the if statement declaration. So if the request that headers, because with Express we can access the headers, that authorization, like this, authorization, and let me see, and what is this? And okay, and so we want to get the token, so it's gonna be the request that headers that authorization, and it's gonna start, so it's gonna starts with, and it's gonna start with bearer, as we saw in the previous video. If we go here to the postman and we go to authorization, as you saw in types, we have the bearer token, but we also have a bunch. We have no auth, we have API keys, we have the JWT bearer, we have the basic auth, and all this stuff. So now we have the bearer token, and as you can see, this is two words, bearer and token. So as an array, you can think of bearer, the word bearer, as the 0 index, and token as the 1 index. This is bearer is the first item, and token is the second item. So like that. So we have this, and okay, so if it starts with if, we're gonna check out and the headers and the authorization, and if the token starts with the string bearer, we're gonna be doing something. That something is, okay, so we're gonna have a try catch like this, and in the try, what we are gonna do is we're gonna set the token. The token is here, and the token is gonna be set to the request that headers that authorization, and now we're gonna split it. So we're gonna split it by a string, so a space, because here we have bearer space token, so we have the 0 index, and then we have space, and then the 1 index. So we don't want bearer, we want the token. So we don't want the 0 index, we want the 1 index. So we're gonna pass in brackets and the number 1. So we want the token, not the bearer. Okay, so we have the token, the request that headers that authorization that is split, and we're gonna set it to the token like that. So once we have the token, we're gonna verify it. So this is where we're verify. So this is where we use the JWT. So we're gonna verify user. We're gonna verify the user, and to do that we're gonna be using the JWT, and there's a method here called verify, and we're gonna verify it with the token that we have it right here, and also the key. In the previous video we created the secret key, and this is the secret key, so it's in that env file. So what we can do here is just put in process that env that secret underscore JWT, like this. So once we have this, once we have that, what else we need to do? So verify user. Okay, so we brought the user's model. Okay, so we're getting the token, we have the verify. Okay, now we're gonna get the token, we're gonna get the ID. So we're gonna await for the user models like this, and we're gonna find by ID. And now that we verify the user, so that's when we have this variable, so we can verify let me see, we can verify user like this, and we can get the ID of the user. Why? Because if we go into the user controller, when we set the token JWT, we use the sign method, and we use the ID as a payload. So we're using that ID, and so we are waiting for the user's model, and we are finding by ID. So we are grabbing the user ID, and we are gonna set it to request that users, like that. So now this is all that we need to do, these 3 steps. So we get the token from the request that headers authorization, we split it with this space, the single quotes, and we grab the second item, or the 1 index. Well, we grab only the token, we don't want the bearer. Now we verify it, so we create this variable verify user. We use the JSON web token JWT, we use the method inside, that is the verify, and we verify this token and also the secret. Okay, once we do that, we are gonna use the user's model. So we're gonna wait for the user's model, and we're gonna find it by the ID, and we're gonna be using this verify variable, since we already verified that it has the token, it has the secret key. Now we're gonna be using the ID, and now this user with the ID, we're gonna set it to request that users. And finally we're gonna be calling the next piece of middleware. So next. Okay, so what else do we have here? Asynchronous next. Let me see. So in the error we're gonna cancel we're gonna cancel that log, and we're gonna cancel that log the error, so like that. And okay, so it's throwing me this. Why is throwing me this request? Okay, so require secure data, synchronous secure data. So what? They don't like something here. Async handler. Oh, I missed the C. So like this. So now we have the asynchronous function. So now the colors are changing here. As you can see, we have the request. We're using headers authorization. And okay, so if the token is incorrect, we can pass something. Request that is status, and we can pass in the 401 like this. As you can see here in 401, unauthorized. The hypertext transfer protocol HTTP 401 unauthorized response status code indicates that the client request has not been completed because it lacks valid authentication credentials for the requested resource. This status code is sent with the HTTP www-authenticate response header that contains information on how the client can request for the resource again after prompting the user for authentication credentials. This status code is similar to the 403 forbidden status code, except that in situations resulting in this status code, user authentication can allow access to the resource. So you have the 401, you can check out all those 401, 403, 404. Those are the bad requests. You have the 200, that is the good request. So we have that, and we can throw an error. So it's going to be throw error. So throw new element error like that, and we can so incorrect. Yeah, incorrect token. Let's put it like that. So that is that if they have a token but it's incorrect. So let me see, we have this is for the if. That is an if. Okay, we're gonna have another if statement. So if there is no token, if there's not token, then again we're gonna be doing something. We're gonna grab this and let me check it out. Okay, so we're gonna respond with the status code. Okay, status, just status with the status like this, 401, and token. Okay, token, we can pass in token not found like this. Okay, and what else do we have here? So token not found. So yeah, so this is our middleware. So now we can grab this function secure data and we can go to our route that we want to protect. I want to protect this route, so but first of all I need to bring it. So it's gonna be cons, and it's gonna be secure data. Yeah, secure data, and I'm gonna bring it from the require, and it's gonna be 2 levels up, and it's gonna be in the middleware, and it's gonna be in the security middleware like that. And now I'm gonna use it, so it's gonna be secure data, comma, like this. Okay, so let me check out. I haven't saved it yet, so if I go here, if I go to this endpoint user data, I can see user data, I can see this JSON. So but the purpose of this video is to protect it. So now I'm gonna save it with Control S. So now if I go again to this endpoint user data, if I click it, okay, so now I cannot see it, so I am not allowed to enter. It says request that status not function. Let me see. Okay, so it's not I am not allowed to get inside because I don't have a token. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a token, And let me see what else do we have here. So that's fine. So let me see, let's go into the, let's go here and let's just grab this token to see what happens. So I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna go to Postman and I'm gonna go here in authorization and I'm gonna go into bearer token. So, and again I am in this endpoint slash user data. So, and this is a get method. Now I put this token, let's see what happens. Okay, it's giving me an error, and request is not a function. Okay, error, request that status is not a function. Wait a minute, I did something here, let me see. Res oh like this, it's res that is status, not it's res that is status. Let me, okay, so let's try it again. So I put this token here, the token that I grabbed from the JWT, so this example token. So incorrect token. Okay, so now it's working. So it's incorrect token because I have a token but it's incorrect. It's not the one of the a particular user. So now let's take it away. Okay, there's no token, and let's send it. Let's try to get into this slash user data. So let's send, and okay, error, token not found. Okay, so now it's working. So yeah, it was not working because I was using the request object instead of using the response object. So that is that. And okay, so what we are gonna do now is I can go into the slash that is gonna be this one, that is gonna be API slash users. So it's gonna be this one, localhost 8000 slash API slash users, and I'm gonna create a new user. So let's go into my database and let's see how many users I have. I have only user 1, so let's create user 2. So let's go into the body. Okay, so I have user 2 here, and you just have to, okay, so you just, in order to create it, you go into body, and the key you just type in name. You can put whatever. I'm gonna put user 2. The email is gonna be user2@gmail.com, and the password is gonna be 1234, like that. So I'm gonna send it, and this is a post method. So we're gonna create a user. I'm gonna send it, and it's working. So let's go into our database, and now we should have two users, user 1 and user 2. Okay, with a password hash. Okay, so now we have a token. So now I'm gonna grab this token, but first of all, okay, so I created this user 2. Now I'm gonna log in. As you can see here, we have in the user route, we have, in order to log in or to sign in, we have the slash sign. So we're gonna go into the, we're gonna have localhost 8000 slash API slash user slash sign. This one is users, and this one is users slash sign. So we're gonna sign with user 2. So again, you in this case you just need the email and the password to sign in. So we're gonna sign in with user 2, and okay, this is the password. So I'm gonna sign in. Okay, so I sign in, I have the ID, the name, and the password. Now I'm gonna grab the token. So now that I sign in, I'm gonna grab the token, and I'm gonna go to my get post to the 8000 API users and user data endpoint. So now I'm gonna paste that token in the authorization and the bearer token. I'm gonna paste the here token, and I'm gonna send it. Okay, and I'm getting user data. So obviously I want to get the user 2 data, since user 2 is sign in, but we are just getting this JSON. Why? Because if we go into the user controller, this is where we are returning the user data. So we want to return the user information. If you remember, in the security middleware function, we use the okay. So we grab the token. We grab the token from the header's authorization from the bearer token. We verify it with the JWT verify. So we verify that the token belongs to the user and also the secret. So we verified it with this function or with this variable verify user, and now we are using the user model. So we are awaiting, we are using the user model, and we are finding it by the ID, and we are using this variable verify user that has the token and the secret, and now we're gonna have the ID of this particular user. So we have the information of this particular user of the user, and we are setting it to request that users. So what we can do here, if we go to security to controllers, instead of returning JSON, this string, what we are gonna return is the request that users. So now it's gonna return, if we are signing in as user whatever, this is gonna return the information of user whatever. So let's go and try it again. So we have this, the correct token, we're gonna send it, and now we are returning the ID, the name, the email, we are returning the password. It's hash, but we are returning the password and the create that, updated that. So this is the timestamps. If you don't want to return the password, what you can do is you can go to your security middleware file, and let me see here. We are waiting for the user model, we are finding it by the ID, we are verifying the ID, and now we're gonna use that select. Okay, and that select specifies which document fields to include or exclude, also known as the query projection. So that select like this, and now we're gonna pass in the string, and it's gonna be minus password, so we don't want the password even though it's hash. So now if we go back into the get method, into the user data endpoint, we have here a password. If I send it again, we have the correct token, we shouldn't be able to see the password. Okay, so I'm gonna send it, and let me see. Okay, so it's working. And okay, we don't have the password, we only have the ID, the name, the email, created data. And as you can see, for a moment I thought it was gonna freeze, it was gonna start left hanging now. And if you don't use async handler, even though your code is right, even though you're using all the asynchronous functions, that is what's gonna happen to you. Your screen is gonna froze. So in order to avoid that, we can use async handler to deal with exceptions. So we have that. Let me see, we saw the using middleware, we have the async handler, we saw the authorization request, we use the bearer token, and again the bearer tokens enable requests to authenticate using an access key such as JSON Web Token, JWT. The token is a text string included in the request header. In the request authorization tab, select bearer token from the type drop-down list, and the token field enter your API key value for added security stored in a variable or reference for variable by name. Postman will append the token value to the next bearer and the required format to the request authorization header as follows. So you have that, the bearer, and what is inside of this angle brackets is your key or your token. And again, we have this, the 0 index, and this would be your 1 index, your first item, and this is your second item. So we saw the for 1, and let me check out. So let's create another user. So let's create user 3. So let's create user 3. It's gonna be this one. Let's create it at the same point, post method API/user. So let's create it. Okay, we created it, and let me see. Let's go into the user. We have user 1, user 2, and user 3. Okay, that's fine. So now let's sign in with user 3. Okay, so I'm gonna sign in with user 3. The password is the same, but I'm gonna send it, and now I have a token. So I have this new token. I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna go into my, I'm gonna oh, okay, I'm gonna paste it, and here it says user 2 email user 2. Now I have I have the token of user 3, so I'm gonna send it to this particular point. This is a get method. I'm gonna send it, and now I have user 3. The email is user 3. We don't have the password since we did all that using the that select method, the minus password. So yeah, you can use the minus password for minus name or ID or email or whatever. And what else do we have here? So okay, so let's just take out this token, and now let's just grab this random token here, the JWT token that appears on the official website, and let's just go into the Postman. Let's place it here, let's send and see what happens. Okay, so we have an error. So this is HTML. You can go into middleware and create a file, a middleware JavaScript file to deal with JSON. So instead of getting HTML, you can get your errors in JSON. But as you can see here, it says incorrect token. Why? Because we have a token but it's incorrect. Now if I take it out, we don't have nothing. Now it has to change. Now if I send it, it should say, I think I name it incorrect token not found. So let's click it, let's send it, and it's gonna have an error, and it's gonna be token not found.